Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I am, as always, your host, AR, the Ohio Patriot. And for today's episode, we're going to talk about why Kanye West is a retard who will never win the U.S. presidency, among other topics of the day, because we're also going to talk about some Pro 2A stuff as well in this whole episode. But, yeah, for those that hadn't watched it, Kanye West, or Ye, or whatever the fuck he's calling himself at this point, some stupid ass other name, went on Tim Pool's cast last night. It lasted for all of about 15 to 20 minutes before he got up and walked out like a little bitch, is what it was. And that's the thing, dude. And this motherfucker thinks he's going to be president of this country. Like, you're high as a fucking kite, dude. Seriously. And for those wondering, like, I've never really liked Kanye West anyway. Like, I always thought he was a douchebag in general. And, yeah, he just always came off like a giant asshole to me. That was just doing things for his own best interest is what it was. And even just like the more recent stuff where like I might have agreed with him on something like the White Lives Matter stuff and whatnot. Where he was doing the t-shirt wearing and stuff like that with Candace, I think it was Candace Owens, if I'm not mistaken. Like even that I think was a publicity stunt for him and whoever else then, dude. And I think that's what it is in a lot of cases for that motherfucker. It's just him being an asshole. But we are gonna read some stuff from Tim Pool's cast last night because there's a bunch of this is about the 37 35 mark into the show. Got a bunch of super chats on the side of the comment section there. We're gonna read a few different things from those is what it is, because there is a few people that I thought were very interesting, and it's stuff that they also that I thought was very informative here. Specifically the one dude here said all these people saying that Tim Pool had the loss here are clowns. Tim's correct, and Kanye's a weak candidate if this is how he acts under scrutiny. And then there's another one here that said, where are we at now? Yeah, it said Tim did nothing wrong. He did not explain, I think he meant Kanye did not explain at all his position. Seemed very childish for him to walk out, no pushback, and he just got up and leaves. Needs to explain before blowing up. Yeah, exactly. And there's a few other ones here and there. Some guy said knew it would go south once Kanye said he would walk off if questioned, like he did with some guy named Lexus podcast. And then another one was a $10 super chat here that said he acted like a child that is not very presidential. Very true, and that's the big thing right there. And I think that's the problem entirely right now, dude. If you're talking like, so here's my biggest problem I have with the whole thing entirely. You have Kanye go on there, you know, him and Tim and Nick Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos and stuff like that are all, you know, talking before the actual chat it was, in like their pre-chat thing or whatever it was in the studio there. And apparently Kanye asked Tim Pool the question of, how do I win the presidency? It's like, dude, you announced you're running for president in less than 2 fucking years, and you don't know how to win the fucking presidency? Like, I don't know, maybe have a fucking game plan going in? Like, goddamn, dude, seriously. Like, you think you're a good fucking candidate? God, fuck, man. You think you're a good candidate, dude? Like, Jesus criminy. And what's even worse is, like, Kanye's whole fucking bullshit response there, when he was talking about stuff, is like, I'm the best candidate because I'm getting targeted for by whoever the fuck it is, and they're trying to take my money basically, and that's why I should hold the presidency. And it's like, dude, that's the last fucking reason why you should be holding the presidency, or anybody should hold the presidency for that matter. And that's the entire thing, man. And that's exactly why I've said before, dude. Like, this is a great example right here of why we need the 20th Amendment of the Constitution for its qualifications from office and running for office, dude. Because Kanye is a fucking clown, man. And he's like, honestly, we see these people like every 2 to 4 years in this country, honestly. And Kanye is no different, man. You know, we saw it back in 2016 with people like fucking Joe Jorgensen as a third-party libertarian candidate. We saw it in 2012 with that idiot Gary Johnson, so forth and so on. And it's like, you know, then you have people like that Grandmaster J guy who ran as like some like random ass party or whatever it was, or you have fucking actual child molesters like Brock Pierce who ran under some party in 2020. And it's like, That's the thing, man. You have these fucking like random ass motherfuckers that stand like no chance at winning, and they just yank the votes from other people. Is what it is, dude. And the worst part of it is there are stupid people who are actually going to vote for Kanye West in 2024, man. Like real dumb motherfuckers. Now, granted, that being said, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and say that like some of the things that he said, like in his ramblings and stuff like that, aren't actually true. The big thing is when you're sitting there and being like, oh, it's the Jews this and the Jews that, and like, fuck you, dude, seriously. And by the way, I'd like to point something out on that one, and there's something that somebody brought up in the whole thing of Tim's cast there, which was the fact that you have Kanye trying to group in all of Judaism together as like one thing or whatever, where he was talking about like the black community not being grouped as one then. And that's the thing. When you look at like actual Judaism, like baseline Judaism, there's nothing wrong with that. What Kanye is talking about, and he brought it up in Tim's cast last night, which is very much Zionism is what it is, dude. And, you know, that'd be people like your globalist types like Soros and company like that with the, you know, Z's is what it is there. And I think that's the biggest problem right there. People don't want to distinct that from one thing to another thing is what it is. And that's why I actually will, because there is a huge difference, dude. Like, yeah, there's these globalist motherfuckers out there who might be controlling things here and there. I'm not saying they're controlling like every single thing is what it is, but it's not just like this cartel of just like everyday like Jewish people doing that stuff, dude. And I think that's the biggest problem that Kanye's putting himself off like that is what it is. And so he's basically, you know, people are calling him anti-Semite or whatever the case be there. And it doesn't help when you have dipshits like Nick Fuentes being your fucking like little bitch boy for you, dude. Like that guy's a fucking moron and then some, man. I remember hearing about, I think the first time I remember hearing about Nick Fuentes was when he did, I forget exactly what it was. It was some stuff a few years back is what it was. Because he was one of like the many people that were at Charlottesville is what it was years ago. And then he really got his claim to fame like a few years back when he became like the leadership of the, I think it was Griper movement is what they call it or something. And that was like 2-3 years back now is what it was, like I think it was like end of 2018 or like 2019, someplace in there is when they created that crap is what it was, dude. And really what it is honestly like, I hate to use the term incel, but basically that's what it is, dude. It's a bunch of fucking like little bitches that can't get laid and can't find a woman of any kind. And then they just want to be like, oh, but we're the fucking alpha males of our generation kind of stupid bullshit. And it's like, no, you're not, dude. You're betas at best. And even then you're probably more like deltas, honestly. So like that's the biggest problem. And then of course, Fuentes himself, he's gotten into a bunch of internet drama with a bunch of people over the time periods. And as I think it was NEA brought up last night or somebody in this panel brought up last night about Fuentes being like one of these guys that very much is a grifter, like a hardcore motherfucking grifter. And he very much is, honestly, dude, is what it is. And that's the problem. When you grift and your grift, you know, gets outed and stuff like that, you got to find people to grift is what it is then. And that's what he keeps doing is what it is over the years now, since 2017, roughly. And I think, unfortunately, Kanye is the most recent one to be kind of grifted on by this jackass. Now, granted, I don't really understand where Milo comes in all this, dude. Like, apparently Milo was, like, fucking friends with Nick Fuentes, which is weird to me. And that's how they got, like, connected between Milo and Kanye. Like, the only thing I remember about Milo was, like, a pro-Trump guy back in the day, and then he was, like, supposedly, like, a gay dude that now converted and was like, oh, I'm actually, like, straight now or whatever. And it was all, like, apparently with Milo, it was something where he had, like, a lot of sexual childhood trauma and stuff like that, where he was preyed upon by pedophiles is what it was, like priests and shit. So I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of serious mental issues going on in that group of that trio of men. Basically, is what it is between Kanye West, Milo Yiannopoulos, and Nick Fuentes, dude. Because Nick Fuentes apparently got outed here in the last like 6 months or something for being all about like tranny porn or something like that, dude. Which, you know, hey, if you want to be into that shit, that's on you, brother. You know, that's if you want to live your life like that, that's whatever, dude. But like, don't be acting like you're some like straight dude at that point then, because you're not 100% straight is what it is. And like, that's the problem right now, I think, entirely, dude. So yeah, it's just very interesting in general. And like I said, it's a bunch of ass clowns is what it is, dude, unfortunately. And the problem is, you know, I'm not saying that Kanye is not being technically targeted by like some media people for like outing a bunch of stuff going on in Hollywood. But the thing is, like, hey, man, If you know there's a fucking giant pedophile ring going on in Hollywood, how about you out some fucking names there, buddy? Like, if he actually started saying shit like that, honestly, maybe people would start listening to him and drop the fucking, Jew shit, this is what it is, and Jew shit, that is what it is, dude. Like, if you drop that out the fucking window and you actually start, like, bringing up, like, real shit is what it is, man, like, maybe people are actually going to be into some stuff there and actually listen to you, and, would it be you having your life targeted? Possibly. But who the fuck knows? But yeah, I think the guy's a terrible candidate, is what it is. I don't think he stands any chance of winning. If anything, I could almost see him being like a Ross Perot type at the end of the day, where he burns off enough of the vote for somebody to where the Democrats take power then for a second time, but it wouldn't be Biden, it'd be somebody else then in the Democrat Party, like a Newsom type or something like that, probably. So, yeah, it's just it's pathetic, dude, is what it is. So... And my biggest problem was the fact that you had Kanye basically bitching and moaning and being like, well, we're going to, because the thing was, I mean, Tim was asking him like legit questions. He's like, hey man, like, I want to talk to you about like the dinner you had with Trump and stuff like that. And he kind of got into it a little teeny bit is what it was, which was basically him and Trump were supposed to have like dinner at some point, like a month or two ago is what it was. And then it got pushed back because of Trump's schedule was what it ended up being. And then he decided, like, oh, I'm going to bring, my buddy Nick Fuentes with me. And, yeah, that's pretty much what happened is what it was. And I guess Nick was there at the dinner, and they had dinner together is what it was then. Like, is it a big fucking deal? Not really. It's like a bunch of guys having fucking dinner together, And that's the problem. The media wants to spin it the way they want to spin it now because they're like, oh, Kanye West is an anti-Semite, and fucking Nick Fuentes is... The fucked up part is, like, technically, if you want to get technical about what Fuentes actually describes himself as, it would be a white nationalist. But you got the fucking media, specifically ABC, being like, oh, Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist and shit like that. It's like, no, he's not, you jackass. There's a huge difference, too, by the way, between white nationalism and white supremacy. The big difference is, it's just like the same thing with, going back to the, that Grandmaster J guy and the NFAC, people that that were basically black nationalists is what it was. It's people that essentially what it is, they want an ethno-state, whether it be a handful of actual united countries in the United States, like a few states like, Maine or Massachusetts or whatever the case be or something like that together is what it would be. Or let's go ahead and say like, they would take like, as Grandmaster Jay was saying years ago, he's like, we'll take Texas kind of shit or whatever. And the thing with that is it would be them essentially wanting like a single state or like a couple of states together or whatever it is to make like an ethno-state kind of thing where it would just be like them there and nobody else essentially is what it would be. And it's kind of like the same thing with like, a bunch of white nationalist people would be a bunch of white folks there. And that's why I think the media tries to like play it as like white supremacy kind of stuff, even though it's technically not. It's like a whole different thing. Because the thing is, you can sit here and talk about Israel all day for that matter, dude. Israel's been a Jewish ethno-state for decades, is what it is, dude. Since its creation in the fucking 40s is what it is. I think it was like 1948, the same year my mom was born, that they were first created as a country. And that's why you've always had Palestine and stuff like that being all pissed now and stuff, and the Gaza Strip and all those places like that and whatnot, is because they basically created this fucking place there, and we're like, no, we exist here now kind of thing, and it's basically, if you're not one of us, you don't get into this place is what it is. So, it is kind of fucked up, but like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it, honestly. It's just a bunch of shit individuals. Like, that's, I guess, the best way to describe it, honestly, dude. It's a bunch of shitty people who just want to be shitty, and then you got the fucking shitty-ass mainstream media who, of course, are bought and paid for by, 6 giant corporations, which, who the fuck knows owns those, Kanye West might be right about that, honestly. Who the fuck owns that stuff, But the whole entire point is, though, is that it's like, this dude is, first of all, you went to this man's studio, being Tim Pool, under the actual, thing of, hey, we're going to do this cast tonight, and it's going to be me asking you questions about, like, your dinner with Trump. And instead it's like, oh no, let's just talk about the Jews. Like, what the fuck kind of nonsense is that, dude? That's just dumb. If you want to do that, go start up your own shit then, man. Like, don't be going onto some other dude's fucking platform and thinking he's going to put up with your bullshit is what it is. And the fact that you're such a fucking child that he gives you just a teeny bit of pushback and you're like, oh, I'm just going to get up and walk out now. Like, that's not that's not even fucking any kind of candidate material, dude. That's just somebody having a serious fucking mental issue is what it is. And there was somebody that brought up in Tim's chat here at some point. I forget exactly where it was at in one of the super chats there. But essentially it was basically them saying that Kanye had serious personality disorders, what it was. And, it's basically him having a blow up is what it would be. I think that's very true, honestly. I think there's a lot of people like that, dude. Hell, I think Tim Pool himself's kind of a piece of shit if you want to ask my opinion on that whole thing, dude, because Tim's a fucking narcissistic asshole is what it is, dude. And has been for some time now. That's the one thing I think that Adam Krigler got right when he was talking about his whole, experience with Tim and his company and stuff like that is they literally met each other playing Magic the Gathering. And that's the thing. Like, the one thing I know about Magic myself, because I played it in the past, is there's a lot of fucking douchebags in that community, dude. Interestingly enough, it seems like there's a lot of trans people in that community now, which is a whole thing of itself there. And, again, it's a lot of guys that can never get laid. So, but that whole trans thing, I think in general, in of itself is like just a lot of fucking mental illness run amok is what it is in the last decade or so. And ironically enough, when you look at the guy that's the quartering, Jeremy Hambley, that guy actually got his claim to fame based on Magic the Gathering because he was lifetime banned because he basically outed a bunch of fucking Antifa child molesters who were in the fucking judge program. Now, some were both Antifa and child molesters. Some were just Antifa and some were just child molesters, but there was a mix between all of it together is what it was, where it's like it was either one, the other, or both in some cases. And it's like, yeah, then that's the problem, dude. When you got fucking, Wizards of the Coast being stationed someplace in Seattle, Washington area and stuff like that there. And it's like, bro, you're not going to deal with your fucking issues here with the judge program and you're going to basically instead silence this fucking guy. Like, that's bullshit, man. Entirely. And as far as I'm aware, though, they have actually dealt with some of that stuff over the years now. I don't know per se how much because I don't play professional Magic anymore is what it is. I barely did when I was playing an L. I think the most professional I ever got was like some Star City Games fucking events or something like that. And even then I didn't do well in them. But that's besides the point is what it is. But yeah, the one thing I noticed personally playing and stuff like that, especially at like Friday Night Magic and stuff like that, there is a lot of people that if they lose, man, they will fucking flip out and start flipping tables and stuff. Interestingly enough, it seemed to me, like from my personal experience and stuff like that, the guys that I saw it with personally were a lot of minorities. There was a small group of guys that used to come to the shop that were known cheaters, actually. We banned them for cheating over the years, actually. And it was two black dudes, a Latino guy, and then a white kid that was always with them named Gage. And they were all cheaters. All four of them were. Aaron, the Latino guy, was one of the biggest pieces of shit too, by the way. And he actually tried to fuck me a couple times in games and stuff like that. And I outed his ass for stuff. And what was funny was there was a young kid at one of these events that this kid was maybe like 12 or something like that. And he was actually a decent player for his age range and stuff like that. And his dad and him would come play and stuff like that. I forget what kind of deck Aaron had made that night, but it was like something that was like, and that's the problem with a lot of those people like that. They'll usually go like some copy and paste bullshit off the internet that somebody else made and they can't actually pilot properly is what it is. Instead of actually just building your own stuff. And this kid basically had built like his own like red deck wins or whatever it was and handily beat this Aaron kid in like a couple turns or whatever in like both games and shit. Aaron just grabs his deck up and just fucking throws the entire thing across the entire floor of the card shop. And it's like, bro, it's a fucking game. Like, grow the fuck up, dude. I think at that time he was like in his mid-20s or early 30s, and it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, yeah, you just lost to a fucking kid, whatever. Like, deal with it. And that's the problem with a lot of those fucking people in that kind of circle, dude, is they can't. And like, Krigler was saying about Tim Pool here recently, is that Tim was kind of one of those people. It's like, yeah, if he's winning, he's in a good mood. If he's losing, he'll basically like cut your throat, essentially, is what it is. So, I don't know, man. It's just fucked up in general. But, like I said, I think it was very unprofessional what Kanye did last night. I think it was very unprofessional that Milo and Fuentes walked out with him, basically, is what it was, which makes sense, though, because, again, when you're talking about somebody who's your meal ticket at that point, like, why wouldn't you catch the car with him? It's not going to be one of those things where it's like we're left out in the middle of the fucking wherever the fuck that place is at, like West Virginia or someplace like that. It's like, nah, they're going to jump in the car with him, and they're going to be like, oh, Kanye, oh, we're so sad that, oh, Tim totally fucked that up. Like, nah, fuck him kind of thing, whatever the case be. It's like, no, we're totally on your side, bro. Like, fuck that guy and fuck his people and stuff like that kind of thing. I'm guessing was how that car ride went. In reality, it's just like, bro, like we just need to grift you out of a little bit more money here and stuff like that before we move on then. And yeah, it's just a sad situation all the way around, I believe. But yeah, honestly, my biggest thing is I believe that Kanye West 100% is the real life President Camacho from Idiocracy, dude. If he ever got the presidency, like, holy fuck, dude. I was talking to my mom about this actually a little bit ago, and we both agreed on the thing that I mentioned. It was basically, if Kanye were somehow able to successfully become president of the United States, I think he would take us to nuclear winter in the first 2 days of his presidency. I think he would get pissed at somebody for something and just hit like the nuclear switch, basically what it is, for the launch codes and shit. And it's like, that is not who we need in that fucking role, dude. Is some fucking nut like that. Hell, that's like Hillary Clinton level insanity, basically, dude. With that crazy bitch being like, oh, we only have like 3 minutes for the codes or whatever it is. During the one debate with Trump in 2016. And yeah, she would have taken us into nuclear winter 100%, man. So, it's just fucking nuts, bro. But there was a couple other stories I want to mention today, though. This is all Breitbart news from the last day or so when it comes to gun stuff. So, the first one, you have one of the piece of shit senators in this country, one of the ass clown / ass cock senators, being that motherfucker Chris Murphy, who I guarantee you there is no way that this guy's not a child molester. And I would not be surprised in the least if the documents came out very soon that proved it once and for all. So anyway, as I said here, it says Senator Chris Murphy admits Democrats probably lack votes to ban assault weapons. Which, again, they can't even define what assault weapons are, is what it is, dude. Yes, a gun control advocate, Senator Chris Murphy, said Sunday that Democrats in the Senate probably do not have the votes to pass ban assault weapons, which is true. They don't, and they never fucking will. Yeah, he was on CNN basically saying they don't have the votes, is what it is. And the thing is, though, you keep having them do all kinds of shady shit now to try to get the votes, dude. And the thing is, like, it would be psychotic to, put your career on the line right now if you're going to try to do something, dude, especially if you're up for re-election in like the next couple of years is what it is. But anyway, another thing I thought was interesting, though, and this is more to the fact that we need to start dealing with things correctly in this country, which is numerous California gun controls challenged in light of Bruin decision, as it should be. So a series of cases challenging California's gun control in light of the New York Rifle Pistol Association versus Bruin 2022 decision are set to begin yesterday in federal court in San Diego. So Breitbart reported the Supreme Court of the United States struck down New York's proper cause requirement for concealed carry permit issuance on June 23rd of this year via the Bruin decision. In the majority opinion for the Bruin decision, Judge Clarence Thomas wrote the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to carry a handgun for self-defense inside the home. He noted, although we remarked in District of Columbia versus Heller in 2008 that the need for armed self-defense is perhaps most acute in the home, i.e. at 628, we did not suggest that the need was insufficient elsewhere. Many Americans hazard greater danger outside their homes than in it, and the text of the Second Amendment reflects that reality. So Washington Times paraphrased Thomas's emphasis on the importance of the ruling like Bruin, McDonald versus Chicago in 2010 and the Heller decision, saying the test courts must apply is whether a firearms restriction would have seemed reasonable to the founding generation that crafted and ratified the Second Amendment. If not, that law must give way to the Constitution. Said now California gun control will be challenged in the light of the Bruin decision. And it said here on July 23rd, dipshit Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill that back then allowing private citizens to sue gun manufacturers and sellers of illegal quote-unquote ghost guns and any firearms which Democrats label as assault weapons. Said San Diego Union Tribune observed hearings beginning Monday in cases that, quote, could bring sweeping changes to local and state gun laws, including those that outlawed homemade firearms, those that ban assault weapons in large capacity magazines, aka standard capacity magazines, and those that restrict gun purchases based on a buyer's age or the frequency of the buyer's purchases. So basically it would knock the one handgun a month crap away. And it would also be like, no, you can't ban people who are 18, 19, or 20 from buying a fucking rifle or whatever the case be, dude. Said Chuck Michael, attorney and president of California Rifle and Pistol Association, noted that challenges against these California gun control laws, which they shouldn't even be calling them laws because they're not fucking laws. They're not even legal. They're unconstitutional pieces of shit, dude, that should have been struck the fuck down immediately in court decades ago based on Marbury versus Madison of 1803, in which our founding fathers, two of them, fought each other in that court case that basically said if anything can be deemed unconstitutional, it should be looked at as written to begin with. And that's the entire point right now, dude. None of this fucking crap right now, dude. No assault weapons ban in this country. No fucking magazine ban in this country. No pistol permit purchase crap. No fucking one handgun a month shit like that. Any of that crap, dude, should be even looked at as if it were written in this country. Because it's a bunch of unconstitutional bullshit. And that's the entire point. But anyway, that guy noted challenges against these California gun control laws have been brought before, but that was prior to the specific method of testing gun control laws set forth in the Bruin decision. Said Michael noted, now it's a new test. Everything has to be reevaluated on the new test. This is a complete do-over, as it should be. But again, it shouldn't not even have to take the Bruin decision, because again, it should be going back to the founding of this country with Marbury versus Madison, dude, period. And it's really as simple as that. And then, of course, you got, I'm trying to see if I can find the one in the side chat here, if it's actually popping up or not. There was one I wanted to talk about. Actually, that was a good one. Chicago woman with concealed carry permit shoots alleged carjacker in the head, killing him instantly. But, yeah, there's another one here I'm going to grab up, which is about Uvalde and how you have a piece of shit Bloomberg and his fucking asshole buddies now trying to screw over American citizens yet again by attempting to sue Daniel Defense, even though it's completely unconstitutional what the shit they're pulling is there. And not only that, but it's also the fact that you have the Lawful Commerce and Arms Act in this country, dude. So, anyway. Let me see here. Here we go. There's the article I was looking for there. So we got Uvalde mother sues police gun maker in school massacre. So this is the problem I have with that. I have no problem with her suing the cops. I have no problem with her even suing the fucking city in Texas that this happened in. I have no problem with her potentially even suing the state of Texas for that matter. Or suing the fucking federal government that created the MK Ultra motherfucker who committed this massacre, when it was most likely the same fucking kid who said in 2018 that he was going to do a massacre in 2022 that was going to rival Columbine, dude. And yeah, when he had the fucking bitch-ass cops stand outside those fucking doors for like an hour and a half letting this piece of shit fucking asshole 18-year-old little fuckboy massacre and slaughter a bunch of innocent children, including this little girl right here. It's fucking bullshit, dude. Like, they should be held to account. It's a bunch of crap, dude. Anyways, as the mother of one of the 19 kids killed in the school shooting in Uvalde, Texas, has filed a federal lawsuit against the police, the school district, and the maker of the gun used in the massacre, but yet not the family of the piece of shit behind the fucking firearm, right? Because that's what she should be suing, by the way, not the gun maker. The fucking family of the asshole who never got him the fucking help he needed is what it was. Anyway, it says AP, the last conversation, Sherry Torres, however, the 10-year-old daughter, was about her nervous excitement over whether she'd make an all-star softball team. Hours later, Elhana Torres was one of 19 children and 2 teachers massacred at their elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, after a piece of shit cops just let it fucking happen. So with little closure and few answers about law enforcement's 77-minute wait time on May 24th, the school hallway, rather than standing in the school hallway rather than confronting the gunman, Sandra Torres filed a federal lawsuit on Monday against police, the school district, and the maker of the gun the shooter used. Quote, "My baby never made it out of the school. There's no accountability or transparency. There's nothing being done." The lawsuit accuses the city, the school district, and several police departments of a complete failure to follow active shooter protocols and violations of the victim's constitutional rights by barricading them inside 2 classrooms with the killer for more than an hour. City said it doesn't comment on pending litigation in the school district, and police did not immediately return messages. Said Torres is being helped by the, quote, legal arm of the group Everytown for Gun Safety. And this is the kind of shit right here of exactly why we need to sue Bloomberg's fucking ass into the ground right now, dude. These fucking cocksuckers should not be able to give any kind of fucking legal aid to anybody, dude, especially not when they're trying to sue gun manufacturers and try to steal our Second Amendment rights out from under us by destroying the very companies that are making the firearms that we use to protect ourselves versus tyrannical fucking government is what it is right now, dude. It's a bunch of bullshit all the way around, man. This is exactly why Everytown's lawyers need to be fucking disbarred on the spot over this kind of shit, honestly, dude. And I mean it seriously. And why Bloomberg himself needs to be sued for fucking billions and billions of dollars until he's a fucking poor ass piece of shit is what it is, dude. Anyway, continuing on with this, though, it said Torres' suit also names the manufacturer of the AR-style semi-automatic rifle that Salvatore Ramos used to fire more than 100 rounds at the horrific school shooting. It said the claim is part of a new and expanding legal front in the nation. No, it's not a new and expanding legal front. It's a fucking Bloomberg ass tactic because they know that there are other fucking failed ass tactics like trying to fuck us over and bribe state politicians like Allison Russo here in Ohio, who Moms Demand Action did just that in fucking May of 2021 at a House Oversight Committee hearing for constitutional carry in the state of Ohio with a big fat envelope full of cash, baby. And the fact that piece of shit Russo was never brought up on fucking charges is absolute bullshit, dude. But the entire point is, no, these fuckers know that they've lost the narrative entirely in this country, and the main reason that they're pulling the shit they're pulling now, dude, is because it's their only fucking way to get things done now. They're trying to go directly after manufacturers, even though they'd be directly breaking the Lawful Commerce and Arms Act by doing so. But anyways, the AP continued on here. It said, claim is part of the new expanding legal front from the nationwide court battle over firearms. So while gun makers are typically immune under federal law from lawsuits over criminals committing with their products, families of victims, 2012 Sandy Hook shooting in Newtown secured $73 million lawsuit after suing Remington, the maker of the weapon used in the shooting a decade ago. So here's the misnomer on that one, dude. It was not the fact that they actually won a lawsuit for $73 million. It was the fact that Remington basically went bankrupt over everything. And it was some bullshit fucking bunch of lawyer group that had like the remnants of the fucking companies at that point who were like, oh, well, here's $73 million to go the fuck away is what it is, dude. That's what it really was. And that's the problem, dude. Because that right there, this bullshit fucking ruling right there, dude, for the 2012 crap there, opened up a huge fucking can of worms in this country to now it allow these anti-gun fucking asscocks who are the biggest motherfucking pieces of shit in this country who would have us all dead against the fucking wall if they could, are now using that crap to basically push for more of this bullshit, dude. It's just the same goddamn thing here in Ohio after the Dayton massacre. Who did fucking Bloomberg and company now go after? They found the dumbest motherfucker of a survivor in that whose dad was actually killed in the massacre and the kid was shot himself or whatever it was. I say kid, but the guy's like in his 20s, 30s is what it is. This stupid bastard is now one of about 4 or 5 people, including like an aunt of one of the girls who died that night or whatever, who are now trying to sue, I believe it is KCI for that was the mag manufacturer. And it's like, bro, fuck you. Fuck your bullshit frivolous lawsuit. The fact that any judge in this country is letting this crap go on right now is bullshit entirely, dude. Like I said, the way that these whole things should go, it should be like, okay, you're going to file your lawsuit. Guess what? It's going to go in front of a judge. the judge is going to dismiss the fucking case. Any of these piece of shit fucking lawyers from Bloomberg's little asscock fucking every town, dude, are going to be disbarred on the fucking spot then. That's how our country should function right now, dude. Seriously. It should be that fucking simple. Case dismissed. It's a frivolous lawsuit. Go fuck yourself. You're all disbarred on the spot. Fuck off. Go find another job, assholes. Because you're not fucking being lawyers anymore in this country. Ever again. Anyway, so settlement came after victims successfully argued the suing of they're basically talking about Sandhook there. So the Uvalde suit alleges the marketing tactics of the National Defense violated Federal Trade Commission Act by negligently using militaristic imagery, product placement, and combat video games and social media to target, quote, vulnerable and violent young men. Not as if Uvalde wasn't, like I said, a fucking false flag attack from begin with, dude. It's bullshit, dude. And that was from little fuckboy Eric Tishwell, executive director of Everytown Law. That dude needs to be fucking going to prison for the rest of his goddamn life, dude. For real. Fuck that fucking cunt. So. And the asswipe Eric claimed that it wasn't by accident that the shooter went from never firing a gun to wielding a National Defense AR-15, citing findings of a report written by an investigative committee in Texas House of Representatives. We intend to prove National Defense's marketing was a significant factor in the choices that Ramos made. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Company based in Black Creek, Georgia, did not immediately return a message seeking comment, but in a congressional hearing over the summer, CEO Marty Daniels called the Uvalde shooting and others like it pure evil and deeply disturbing. Still, he separated the weapons themselves from the violence, saying mass shootings in America are local problems to be solved locally. I mean, I disagree with that, honestly, in general, because of the fact that it's not that they're local problems, dude. It's their fucking government created is what it is. 99% of this shit is government created at this point, dude. There is, like, seriously, if you actually look into Uvalde, dude, there is so much fuckery going on. There's not even funny, man. Like, I heard some crazy shit after the fact about, like, some military planes, like, landing, like, a minute or two before the whole thing went down. And people were talking about being, like, a scout squad to basically look over and make sure it went down or whatever. And then they left, like, a couple minutes after it happened then. Like, it was real creepy shit, honestly, dude. And it makes sense when you go from the factoid to the fact that it was basically a fucking false flag. You know? And why would it be a false flag? Because their end game is to basically destroy the Second Amendment. The fucking U.S. government's end game is to literally destroy the Second Amendment of the Constitution, dude. These Democrat pedophiles, these fucking child molesters, etc., that have been in power for decades, their entire end game is to destroy our country, dude. And the best way to destroy the country is disarm the population. Because, you know, they can then enact their communist bullshit, put us up against the fucking wall, Nazi Germany style, blow our fucking brains out, and it's their end game right there, dude. Period. And of course, you also had Everytown asswipes to a similar lawsuit earlier this year over the Highland Park massacre. So yeah, it's a bunch of crap entirely, dude. And again, this is why I'm calling on people like GOA at this point. Gunners of America, Fires Policy Coalition, all the people like that, dude. You keep wanting to send out emails to people to send you money, dude. How about using some of that money to start fucking suing Bloomberg's ass, dude? Seriously. Find any way you fucking can to take this cocksucker down once and for all, dude. The same thing with Giffords for that matter as well, dude. Any of these anti-gun orgs like that, dude. Bloomberg, Everytown, Giffords, all of them, dude. Take them all out, dude. Moms Demand Action, Students Demand Action, not Parkland. March for Our Lives, all these motherfuckers, dude. Knock their asses out. Fucking knockout blow. Seriously, dude. Countersue the fucking shit out of their asses, dude. Because it's a bunch of bullshit, dude. Anyway. Continues on here. That same douchebag from Everytown claimed it would be an important step forward to hold gun manufacturers to account if their marketing crosses a line. How about your marketing, dude? You're a bunch of anti-gun fucking cunts that want to sit there, and your entire marketing strategy is, let's use a fucking racist billionaire piece of shit named Michael Bloomberg's money to attack American citizens' constitutional right to keep and bear arms by going after the manufacturers that they buy their guns from. Because some fucking psycho who was most likely an MK Ultra agent for the United States government and federally handled for 4 fucking years was able to go on a fucking killing spree and left for almost an hour and a half to massacre 19 fucking children and 2 adults. That if either one of the adults had a firearm themselves, could have blown that motherfucker's brains out in less than 2 minutes, dude. Or if these fucking pussy-ass cops had actually gone after the dude in the fucking room, they could have smoked his ass right then and there. Maybe you would have had a kid or 2 killed. Maybe you would have had one of the adults killed. Who the fuck knows? But you would have saved a shitload of other kids is what it would have been, man. And most like one of their teachers, for that matter, as well. It's fucking disgusting, man. It really is. Anyways, as others counter that Daniel Defense did not make misleading or deceptive claims that would trigger regulatory action that federal trade law is intended for, Lawrence Kern, General Counsel for Firearms Industry Trade Group, National Shooting Sports Foundation, condemned the shooting, but argued car makers, for example, aren't held responsible when people run them through crowds with fatal results, or drunk drivers killing a bunch of people, or anything else like that, dude. But yeah, that Kern guy said, it's just not the manufacturer's fault when someone misuses a product. Said case also names the gun shop where that piece of shit bought the weapon from, used in the shooting, along with another AR-15 and ammunition purchases that totaled thousands of dollars, which nobody ever talked about where he got the fucking money from, by the way. Supposedly had a job at Wendy's is how they're claiming he got the cash, but I don't even believe that shit, honestly, dude. I think he was handed a couple $1,000s by the federal government at this point, dude. Some fucking FBI handler probably would be my guess, honestly, dude. So, anyway. But yeah, it said, though only one weapon was used in the shooting, said one patron later told the FBI he, quote, looked like a school shooter, according to a report by the Texas House of Representatives. July report found that nearly 400 law enforcement officials rushed to the mass shooting, but because of poor decision-making resulted in more than an hour of chaos before the gunman was fatally confronted and killed, criticized state and federal law enforcement, as well as local authorities for failing to follow active shooter training and prioritizing their own safety over the lives of the victims. Exactly, a bunch of pussy-ass fucking cops who shouldn't have been cops to begin with, dude. Said Uvalde officer who was leading the city's police department during the shooting stepped down earlier this month ahead of meeting to consider firing him. School district police chief, who was also blamed by state officials for terrible decisions on scene, was fired, though he has insisted he did not consider himself the person in charge that day. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you. Another parent whose child was wounded in the shooting, and two other parents. Two parents whose kids were on campus at the time filed the first lawsuit related to the Uvalde shooting in late September. So Rashonda Torres' case is another way to seek answers about the botched police response. Quote, for 77 minutes they did nothing at all. She'll never know what it's like to get married, to graduate, to go to her first prom, never forget those faces. And that's the problem though, right? Because you're basically forcing people, like I feel like honestly, like this is people standing on people's graves is what it is, dude. It's just like Obama pulled a decade ago with fucking Sandy Hook, dude, where they were standing on the graves of dead kids to basically push for legislation, for all kinds of BS change, for fucking, taxing our Second Amendment and everything else for that matter, dude. And it's like, no, you want to fucking deal with shit, dude? You shoot the motherfucker in the face in the first minute of the fucking thing happening, dude. That's what you do. That's how you fucking deal with this shit, dude. And you don't fucking put their names out there either, by the way. You have the fucking media call them a dickless fucking cunt every time or whatever. It's like dickless fucking cunt number 14 now or something like that. Just put like a number after is what it is, dude. And I guarantee that shit's going to change real fucking quick is what it'll be, dude. Like figure out the most disparaging phrase you can use for them then. And I guarantee you the shit's going to go then. I also like to point something else out that I just saw in the comment or in the sidebar of the Breitbart articles there, which was this. Gun boom continues. FBI ran 192,749 background checks on Black Friday alone. So you're talking almost 200,000 background checks ran this past weekend, dude, on Black Friday. It's a lot of Mossberg shotguns, man. Jesus. Need to get me a Maverick 88 one of these days, man. I really do. That's a good fucking like every man's work tool, by the way. Some of these are pretty good for hunting though, especially like the camo one at the end there and stuff. But the problem is like all those camo ones cost like, I looked into them before and it's like several hundred more than I would want to spend. So I'm not sure just get like a Mav 88 or something like that. Yeah, it says numbers released Monday show the FBI ran 192,749 National Instant Criminal Background Check System background checks on Friday, Black Friday 2022. National Shooting Sports Foundation noted that the 192,749 NICS checks on Black Friday 2022 rank in third in the top 10 highest days for NICS background checks and represented a 2.8% increase over Black Friday 2021. FBI conducted 187,585 checks last Black Friday and 186,645 checks in Black Friday 2020, which makes sense because of all the lockdown stuff. Let's see, said NSSF observed that there were 711,372 NICS checks during the week leading up to and including Black Friday, so almost 750,000 then. So strong Black Friday NICS check numbers come after surges in gun sales during recent years. For example, October 6, 2022, reported retailers had sold over 1 million guns a month for 38 consecutive months. Mark Olivia, NSSF Managing Director of Public Affairs, spoke to Breitbart about the gun sales, noting that 38 continuous months of when background checks for firearm sales have exceeded 1 million people. That's a remarkable sustained trend and demonstrates that firearms industry is meeting a continued increased demand for gun ownership. Exactly, dude. And yet you have these fucking assholes like Bloomberg and company trying to sue people out of that existence. What it is, dude. And I'll tell you what, like this is the kind of shit, dude. The Bloomberg crap there. This is the kind of absolute bullshit in this country that causes civil wars to start, man. Where people just finally have enough and just go smoke that motherfucker is what it is, dude, and his fucking buddies for that matter as well. Just to be clear, Fed boys out there, because I know you federally squatted me at least once before this. I am not saying to go do that. I'm just saying people have, mentality to where they may go attempt some shit like that is what it is, dude. Because they finally just have enough at Snap one day. Not that I'm going to go do that. I never will, just to be clear on that one. Just to make sure that we're all clear on that one, dude. Because I know, and as I've said before in this whole thing, and as I said literally about the last 10, 15 minutes now, we should be suing Bloomberg into the ground, dude. That's how we can win this fight without anything ever happening. We take that motherfucker for everything. We figure out a way to nickel and dime his ass into bankruptcy and his fucking dumbass gun orgs for that matter. And I should say anti-gun orgs for that matter as well. You nickel and dime all of them into the fucking ground, dude. And it's very hard for them to do anything when they're fucking bankrupt and their people are fucking disbarred and stuff like that. Like, that's how we should win these battles, dude, very easily. And the best way to do that, honestly, in a lot of cases, is running for office ourselves right now, dude, because that's what Bloomberg is doing right now. These people are doing multiple fronts right now, dude, where they're putting their activist-ass pieces of shit, your mom's doing action types, into positions of power right now in states, dude. I know for a fact there's at least a couple people that won, and I believe it was Michigan and a couple other states, for that matter, for this last election cycle, that are all moms doing action plants, dude. They should have been thrown out the fucking ballot immediately based on that alone. Because you're 100% working for a fucking terrorist organization being every town for gun safety or moms doing action for that matter, dude. Which they 100% are, dude. They are the fucking modern day redcoats for that matter, dude. These would be the people that our founding fathers fought against in the revolution in this country. To take this country and make it our own constitutional republic. So, yeah, like I said, we just need a 23rd of the Constitution as well on this point, dude. To just auto-DQ people that are running on anti-gun platforms and stuff like that is what it is, because you're directly infringing upon the rights of the people, and you're also breaking an oath to office that you'd be taking the day that you take office, because you'd be swearing an oath to the Constitution, both at a federal level and at a state level, if you're running as a state rep or whatever the case be, or if you're running as an actual congressman or senator, whatever the case be, it would just be the U.S. Constitution then that you'd be taking oath to. But either way, you're breaking oath to office by even running on the platforms to begin with. And the fact that people are voting you into office, supposedly, You know, again, that brings up things I've talked about before on this channel as well. Of like, should the people have voting rights again after that, dude? Is what it is. In a lot of cases, the answer is no. Not if you're going to be voting for fucking some ass cock that's trying to steal my fucking rights away or trying to steal everybody else's fucking rights away, for that matter, dude. Fuck that shit. You know, there is a reason why the Second Amendment is written the way it is about not being infringed upon, dude, because our founding fathers knew if you tried to infringe upon it, it was time for y'all to be shot in the fucking face. Is what it is. Like, seriously, man. It's time for tyranny to die, is what it is, man. And that's what it really is, honestly. I think in many cases. And I think that's the problem we've lost as a country, dude. We become so pussified because, again, it's government overreach. And I like to point something out, too, by the way. This lame duck-ass session that's going on right now in Congress, they are trying to re-up the National Defense Authorization Act, a.k.a. the NDAA, which, for those who don't know what that is, it is to indefinitely detain people without any kind of ability to have any kind of constitutional rights or a lawyer. They can snatch you up, put a black bag over your head in the middle of the fucking night, take you out of your house, take you to some fucking black site, CIA, FBI, ATF, whatever it is, some other three-letter agency that we don't know about, and you're never going to be heard from again is what it is, man. That's some scary shit right there, dude. The fact that's ever been introduced to begin with during, I think it was Obama's administration, or maybe it was in a Bush, one of those two guys. The fact it was ever been re-upped after that, dude, is bullshit entirely. Like, that's the one thing I'm going to go after Trump on, dude. Like, fuck him for that one. He should have never let that shit to be re-upped ever again, dude, during his presidency. That was the worst possible thing that could happen right there. Because it's one of the biggest piece of shit things ever, dude. And if it's going to be in some omnibus bill, guess what, bro? Line veto that fucking shit out is what it is. Or better yet, fucking tell everybody that the entire omnibus bill is a big fuck off. Because we're not going to give money to people in fucking Sri Lanka for speedboats and shit like that, or build a bunch of fucking border walls in like Indonesia or some bullshit like that, dude, or fucking some Arabic shithole like fucking Afghanistan or Iran or Iraq, wherever it is, dude. So, yeah, it's a bunch of crap, dude. Actually, I think one of the ones that was in there was about Jordan's border wall is what it was, dude. And it's like, no, man, build one in the U.S.-Mexico border wall, for God's sakes. Like, build our fucking border wall first, and then fuck everybody else is what it is, dude, until after that happens. And even after that happens, still fuck everybody else is what it is. You know, seriously. Like, it really is time for the United States just to become an isolationist country. We're not the world police. We shouldn't be acting as the world police. We shouldn't be acting as the fucking World Bank, for that matter, either. And I'm personally sick and tired of all of it, dude. Personally, if it was up to me, I'd say I could snap my fucking fingers right now. Federal government wouldn't exist ever again in this country. And we go back to a state government rule is what it is, man. We maybe create mega blocks of state governments and stuff like that, and that's who would actually be technically the federal government at that point then. And it would be very small even still then. And there'd be so many checks and balances that people would be left and right thrown out of office is what it is, dude. And there'd be almost nothing getting done. Ever. Because again, government really should be so small you can't even see it, dude. The fact that we have to have licenses to hunt and fish and everything else like that is bullshit entirely, dude. It's all a bunch of crap, dude. It's just government oversight BS is what it is, man. You know, people say we're freer than they were 100 years ago or 50 years ago or 75 years ago. That's not the truth at all, dude. I remember my uncle, who has since passed, unfortunately, telling me stories of when he was growing up in the 40s and 50s, dude. And they could just go to creeks and fish out of creeks, and it wasn't even no problem, dude. Hell, back in those days, you could stick your fucking thumb out and hitchhike all the way to a fucking golf course that you were working at as a caddy that day. You didn't have to worry about getting, you know, picked up by some psycho fucking mass murderer or some serial killer or child molester or whatever it was, dude. Most of the time, it was just guys that they would caddy for, honestly enough. Yeah, he was telling me a story actually once about that. He was like, yeah, man, it was him and his buddy were like, you know, thumbs out is what it was to go to this place. And, yeah, some dude picked him up and he was the guy that they were caddying for that day. And they made some good money back then. It was like the equivalent of like, you know, like 20, like everybody's getting like $20 here and there today, but it was like a couple dollars back then is what it was. But yeah, it was like, it definitely equated to like, you'd be making like $700 a day then doing that in today's money, even though it was like maybe like 10, $12 back then. But yeah, he made a decent amount of money though, dude, is what it was doing that kind of stuff. And it was a very interesting story. I really I I feel like I would have had more time with him had it not been for stuff, and I'm not going to get into details about why he was, left us as soon, like earlier than he should have, because it all goes back to Jibity Jabs. But yeah, I told him a few years back that I wished he had written down his life story, honestly, because I would have loved to see a memoir from him of all his different accounts and stuff, because he had an interesting life. He was a teacher for a few decades. He was a principal for a little bit of time as well. And, growing up, he was a very interesting character and had some experiences with very interesting characters and stuff. And it's just like, it's one of those things where, you lose out on so much, unfortunately. And you never get them back, is what it is, man. And yeah, it just sucks, man. It sucks to know that he, gone too soon, is what it is, man. Because of fucking government and fucking big pharma is what it is, dude. And fuck both those people. And for those wondering why I'm anti-government, anti-big pharma, it's reasons like that right there, honestly, dude. Not to mention my own health issues for that matter, because of big pharmaceutical companies that should be held to account and have their feet put right to the fucking fire is what it is, dude. But unfortunately, again, when they're, mega donors and corporate lobbyists and everything else like that, are the fucking scumbags that they put into power is what it is, bro. That's another thing, honestly, that I think could, like, even if we had a federal government still, if they just banned lobbying across the board, especially corporate lobbying, which it might not have to be all lobbying, it might just be corporate lobbying, but then again, it would be a whole thing of like individuals doing like, shady shit, like every town basically having like individual people go in there and do stuff or whatever, then as like individual lobbyists and stuff like that, then or whatever. But yeah, either way, it would be something where I think we just ban lobbying outright at a federal level specifically. It would do a hell of a lot better off in this country then. And it would allow for us to have like an actual true thing. Not to mention term limits as well would be another big thing. Term limits, age limits, health limits, auto DQs, on office and for running for office, which obviously on office to begin with, like the biggest thing would be you're pushing forward in the anti-gun stuff, you're done. Secondary thing, if you're running on an anti-gun platform, you're done from the candidacy and the trail and stuff like that. What it would be, man. So, and then pretty much anything else that could be deemed unconstitutional and shit like that, what it would be auto DQs on both those things then. But like, for instance, I don't know, being part of an Islamic terrorist organization like fucking Ilhan Omar is, or Rashad Tlaib has ties to, gone from office immediately, or in the same vein of things like that bitch Cori Bush that has ties to BLM, dude. Like her ass should never been allowed to run for office to begin with in this country because she's a fucking terrorist leadership is what it is, dude. But yeah, it's a whole thing, man. And I think that's a lot of the problem with this country right now is that we're definitely heading towards dark times right now. But I'm starting to get pretty tired, and I'm just kind of over it right now, man. Like I said, to reiterate, go back full circle in this whole episode. We were talking about Kanye to begin with, and we'll end with Kanye. The guy's a joke. He is a joke of a candidate. He is a joke of a fucking human being, and he basically admitted on Tim Pool's cast last night, dude. When he got fame, he was like 24 years old, and he mentally stunted at that age is what it is, dude. So you're talking about prefrontal lobe development. The man is 45 years old now, man, and doesn't even know how to basically run a business, but yet is somehow a multi-billionaire? Like, what the hell kind of nonsense is that, dude? Just craziness, man. Just insanity is what it ends up being, dude. So, I don't know. I don't know what's to come. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but, I think there's going to be some stupid people that are definitely going to back this man in a couple of years for presidency, and they're dumb if they do, man. They're really dumb if they do. Do I think Trump's going to get the nomination again in 2024? Yeah. Only time will tell. I know Pence is a piece of fucking shit. I can tell you that right now, dude. He was being a giant asshole in the mainstream media the last couple of days. That dude is one of the biggest fucking Judases in this country's history ever, dude. Ain't even funny. Actually, I wouldn't even call him really a Judas because that would mean that Trump be Jesus Christ, and I'm not okay with that. Using that terminology and phrasing and stuff because there's only one Jesus Christ that ever existed on this earth, dude, is what it was, and that's our actual Lord and Savior. But yeah, Pence is definitely a Benedict Arnold, I guess is the best way to describe it, which, take that for what you will. What Trump would actually be then, he wouldn't be George Washington, I'll tell you that much, dude. He might be like some John Hancock motherfucker or something like that, maybe. But yeah, no, Pence is definitely like a Benedict Arnold type is what it is, dude, or just any of those people throughout history and stuff like that just betrayed their nation is what it is for the fucking, the scumbag elitists in power right now is what it is, dude. But anyway, I think he's going to be handily defeated in 2024. Personally, I would love to see Kristi Noem run. If there was ever a female I would actually vote for in this country, it would be Kristi Noem for president. Mostly because of the fact she was the only governor that never locked down her state in 2020 and actually has a constitutional basis backing is what it is. Now, granted, do I think she is actually the best candidate entirely? There might be somebody else better, but like for constitutional people, though, she's definitely the top of the rankings is what it is, dude. DeSantis, the biggest problem I have with him currently is that people have said in the past he's control opposition. I have my own issues with the man because he definitely helped kill a bunch of Floridians is what it was with jabs and stuff. And the fact that Elon Musk is now backing him, I'm just like, yeah, dude, you're 100% fucking like not who should be in office then is what it is for the presidency potentially. So I don't know, hell, I may end up starting up my own fucking my own announcement here pretty soon and basically running as a under an assumed name and getting somebody else to run under assumed name as my vice president nominee. And we would have a good slogan. And our entire thing, it wouldn't be to win. That's the big thing. We wouldn't be there to win. We would simply be there running a good platform. If people want to actually vote us in, that's awesome. If we actually did win, it'd be a shocker. But the entire point of the whole thing is, this is something people don't know about, running for office and stuff, dude. You can actually run for office, not win, have a bunch of money in your war chest that you can then distribute to other candidates in the future for future election cycles. And that would be the entire point. It wouldn't be to win the presidency in 2024. It would be to fill the fucking coffers so that we could start actually handing out money to grassroots candidates and making a real change at a state and a federal level later on down the road for various positions of power. So anyway, and as far as I'm aware, that's all legal too, by the way. That's why I'm saying it outright right now. If it's not, somebody out there, like some actual, scholar, whatever the case be, correct me on that one. If it's not, it's not, and I'll, completely change my trajectory is what it is then. But like, yeah, the whole point would be to just, do something like that is what it would be. And the reason I believe that to be the case is because when I was looking at when I was running for office a few years back now, I was looking into different things about like FEC and stuff like that is what it is. And as far as I'm aware, you can do that kind of thing according to their own rules and stuff like that in their terminology for running for candidacies of different positions of power is what it is in this country. So anyway, that's pretty much where we're at for the day though. And like I said, if that be the case, like that might be the way to go right now, dude. And just start filling the coffers for like 2026 and beyond. Then if that be the case, if we even make it that far is what it is right now. And that's the big thing. It would be having to make it that far in this country's, future is what it would be, dude. Because right now, I think we're definitely looking at some bad shit happening in the next like couple months right now, leading into 2023 and stuff. You got looming railway strike, which is basically a coin flip at this point if it happens or not. You got the diesel shit with the industrial stuff for like tractors and everything else like that potentially might be an issue. You have inflation continuing to creep up because of just stupidity is what it is. And just, ridiculous, wasteful spending is what it ends up being. You got fucking dumbass proxy wars overseas between Ukraine and Russia and everybody else like that. And so forth and so on. That are causing us to basically get inflated because we keep spending fucking money and sending over to dumbass, retarded regimes over there in Ukraine, which we shouldn't be sending them a fucking dime at this point, ever, and we should have never sent them a dime, ever. And it just continues to hyperinflate America right now. So, I don't know. I think we're definitely heading towards a Great Depression in this country. And I would say the next, 5 years or so, give or take. And I would hope it doesn't happen next year, honestly. But it could very well be the case that it would kick off and start then. I mean, hell, the original Great Depression lasted, I think, a decade almost or something. And yeah, I don't think we'd come back from that at this point, dude. I think you would have people just go full cannibal is what it is, man. They would just be like, nope, it's Cannibal Monday, baby. Time to go eat some motherfuckers. I mean, hell, there were people in Venezuela that nobody ever wants to talk about, dude. There was some guy there who was a serial killer who was chopping motherfuckers up left and right and then selling them as stew meat in that country after everything began to fall in 2013 or so. And it's Jesus Christ, man. And that's what I'm saying, man. Even Alex Jones a couple years ago said it about the whole thing with the fall of a country and stuff like that. It's I think he said something like 7 to 14 days. People either kill for food or kill each other and start going cannibal is what it is. And that's a scary thought to think about, man. Especially when you have that throughout all humanity in every single nation across this earth, basically. That all the studies on all that stuff would be the same. That is just a scary, scary factor to think about. And, I've talked about it before, honestly. It's one thing this is something I talked about when we had the old moniker of this channel, is there was a thin veil of civility that was lost in 2020. And I believe you started to really see people's true characters back then. Whether it be people shaming people for not wearing masks, whether it be people going full mini tyrant as just an individual and trying to basically do mob rule and mob control and stuff like that is what it was. Or whether it be people like myself who, I didn't even understand what constitutionalism was until I met my friend. And that dude, being a Navy veteran of this country and a constitutionalist himself then, he opened my eyes to what constitutionalism really was. And that was back right at the end of 2019 and early 2020. It was December to January time period there of that year set. So it was December 2019 to January 2020. And I'll tell you what, man, he opened my eyes right before everything went down. And that's why I just kept doubling down. And I'm just nah, bro, this is bullshit. This is unconstitutional. And I went from basically being what I consider to be a stage 1, just let's go ahead and actually read the Constitution, to sort of stage 9, double down, double down, double down, double down, quadruple down, etc. We've achieved close to founding father status at this point. Constitutionalism is what it is. And I feel that's where we're heading right now, dude. I think there's going to be a time in the near future in this country where if we fall, if we balkanize, if we have a civil war and a revolution or whatever the case be, which of course, not all revolutions start as revolutions. Some of them start as civil wars that become revolutions later on. However, something starts as a revolution, it continues on throughout its entire course as a revolution. And that was the big thing with 1776, is that it started out as a revolution against the British Empire. Whereas the American Civil War in the 1800s, had it gone for longer than it did, may have actually became a second American Revolution back then. But of course, you had Abraham Lincoln finally shut that shit down, is what it was, before it ever got to that point. And then of course we have rebellions throughout the decades and the centuries and stuff like that, whether it be the whiskey rebellion over rye prices and stuff like that back in the early days to pay for the actual revolution in this country, or whether it be, the most recent rebellion, which was the Battle for Athens back in, I believe it was the 40s or 50s, when you had a bunch of people find a bunch of soldiers from it was either World War I or World War II back in those days. I think it was World War I actually, come back to their towns and find their, homes basically being corrupted by some shitty ass sheriffs and shitty ass townsmen and stuff like that is what it was, dude. That were just a bunch of scumbag degenerates is what it was, dude. Like all kinds of sexual stuff going on in these towns and stuff like that. And yeah, they went to a bloody battle with these fucking people, dude. And the only reason that wasn't an insurrection act eventually was because of the fact you had the then governor of that specific state that happened in, was like, nah, I'm not letting this fucking be a state level thing, dude. It's going to be a localized thing. They can do what they need to fucking do to take back their towns, what it is. And they let them figure shit out is what it was, dude. And they fucking successfully did is what it was, man. As it should be. And, you think about that, that was maybe 2 to 3 generations back now. And I think that's the problem, dude. You've had our country be our water supply, our watershed, our food supply, everything else like that. So much soy, so much estrogen, all these forever chemicals and stuff in our food and water supply right now, dude. For decades and decades and decades and, generation after generation now. And it's made us so docile and so pussified. I don't think we have the fight in us anymore, dude, in a lot of cases. I think some of us do. I think some of us will go full alpha if we need to. But I believe that there's a lot of people that just don't have it anymore, dude. And it's like, if we even try, it's, you're that, tall blade of grass and a short fucking lawn that's being mowed over is what it is, dude. And you're going to be mowed over by the fucking mower blade. And it's unfortunate that you have, nobody wants to be the tall blade of grass that hasn't been mowed over yet. Because you can't fight the mower is what it is, dude. At least not as a piece of grass anyway. Maybe as something else. A big fucking rock or something, But anyway. I don't know. It's hard to say, man. But like I said, it's one of those situations, though, where it definitely... I think we have options right now in this country. And I think if we did it smartly, we could take back this nation from the tyrannical government that currently exists in it. And it would be through, various people, law enforcement, etc., getting out their fucking asses finally for once and for all and doing their job to arrest a bunch of cheaters and a bunch of scumbags and a bunch of criminals that are currently both in state governments and in federal governments. And if they did that, we would never have to have any kind of, bloody conflict at all in this country. It could just be a peaceful fucking, mass arresting is what it is, dude. And I often go to bed dreaming about stuff like that is what it is, dude. Of, what if something like that finally happened? And unfortunately, I believe there's too many people who just want to go along to get along. And it's like, oh, we know that stuff happened here, but we're not going to do our job to actually arrest these fucking criminals for high treason and stuff like that, dude. And it's like, why not, dude? Unless you're actively part of the fucking cult that they're part of is what it is, dude. Unless you're part of the fucking giant pedophile ring and you're sitting there raping kids with them and stuff like that. Like, why wouldn't you do what needs to be done to deal with these motherfuckers, dude? It's a bunch of bullshit entirely. So, yeah, it's very infuriating. It really is. And like I said, I'm pretty much over it right now, dude. I've been over it for some time now. And I think, honestly, the best thing we could all do is try to survive, Get prepared. If you're not already prepared, get prepared. Black Friday gun sales, dude, is a great thing there, dude. Start there. If you don't have a gun, get a gun. If you already have a gun, maybe get a different gun as a secondary gun. If you got a handgun, get a shotgun or a rifle or something like that, dude. If you already have a rifle, get a handgun. If you already have a handgun, maybe get 2 handguns. You know, buy something. You know, if you got a partner, wife, whatever it is, husband, you know, if you're in some same-sex relationship, who the fuck knows? You know, get the other person there, fucking get a weapon for them, kind of thing, you know? And make sure everybody's armed is what it is, man. And then go from there is what it would be then. You know, if you don't have a lot of food, stock up on some food. If you don't have a lot of water, stock up on some water. Like, if you want to start a garden, start a garden. You know, stock up on seeds and stuff like that, dude. And that's the thing. People don't realize that even there's a way to start like sprouts and stuff like that within your house during like the wintertime, dude. They just happen to have to be in like a sunlight area is what it is. You can put out a tray with a bunch of fucking plastic cups on it and a little bit of dirt in each one of the cups and a couple seeds, and you can start sprouts that way is what it is. So, and then of course, when, you know, spring comes, you can just take those things and then either do like a bigger, you know, planted pot or whatever, put those in it, or you can just plant them into the ground then is what it would be. But either way, it's, you know, a way to start something is what it is, man. And, you know, if nothing else, get some skill sets right now, man, if you don't have those yet. You know, hunting, trapping, fishing. If you don't know how to make medicine, figure out how to get a, you know, mortar and pestle and start, you know, knocking shit together is what it is, dude, and actually make some different medicines and stuff like that out of different things. You know, take some random plants that can be used for various things and start muddling them together is what it is, man. Read up on different things, read up on edible plants, read up on edible, you know, any kind of food is what it is that you can find out in nature and stuff, dude. Or any kind of like medicinal plant for that matter. Like, know what's around you. Nothing else, plant these things. You know, gain a skill set, learn how to can. You know, go back to go back to fucking our forefathers and stuff like that in the original Great Depression. Like, what do they do? A lot of them canned. A lot of them knew how to do skill sets, dude. Many of them knew how to hunt, and they did very well. They would bring food and put it on the table most of the time, dude. You know, some almost starved to death, but they figured out a way to get past it, dude. And I think that's the one thing that so many people are lacking right now. It's just basic skill sets. You know, if you want to teach yourself how to make knives or weld or something like that, by all means, dude, do that stuff. Or any kind of thing like that. Forge various weaponry, forge various things for that matter, even. You know, if you know how to work a forge, like that's a great thing, dude. That's gonna be a much necessary skill in the grid down scenarios I'm thinking about right now, dude. In a post collapse America, in a post, you know, grid down America, in a post Great Depression America. If you're the man that knows how to do a lot of things, or you're the woman that knows how to do a lot of things, like you're gonna be a person in very much need, dude. Versus some jackass that has some fucking gender study degree or something like that. Like, nah, man, that motherfucker is going to be the asshole with a bunch of other assholes digging a fucking ditch line for a fucking shit pit, basically. And it's like, I'd much rather be the guy that knows how to, you know, work a fucking backhoe or something like that than some asshole who knows how to work a fucking shovel. So, you know, that's my personal feeling about it, man. Or if nothing else, if you're the person that knows how to, you know, fix old cars and stuff like that, that's another great skill set. Old mechanic stuff, dude. Like, especially if we're talking about like a post EMP collapse and shit like that, like that's another thing right there. If you know how to rip a bunch of stuff out of an old vehicle and make it run again, you're going to be a very desired person for a community. And you're going to be one of the people that they make sure to keep alive because you would be keeping them alive, is what it is. And you'd be extending their reach out, is what it would be then. You know, versus somebody that would just have to walk everywhere, or maybe have like a bike or something like that. You know, pedal their ass to like the next town over or something like that, versus a guy that has like a functioning vehicle and could drive to a few places and maybe have a few people in the back of a truck or something like that for that matter and go patrolling and shit. So, you know. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for today, though. Like I said, I think we're definitely heading for a very interesting time in our life right now. And I think we're heading for potentially dark times ahead in this country. And unfortunately, it all has to do with a bunch of assholes who help cheat some other asshole into power, dude. And it wasn't just one asshole being cheated into power, it was a bunch of assholes being cheated into power. So, anyway. But, yeah, that's where we're at for the day, though. Like I said, I don't think Kanye really stands a chance in this race. I think he's an idiot candidate. He definitely has some personality issues going on right now, and you know, it may be too that it's just like a whole bunch of other shit too, for that matter, dude. And it's like, bro, if you got like a bunch of issues where you think they're trying to fuck you over for like tax evasion or whatever the case be, like, I don't know, man, figure that shit out or whatever the case be, and then deal with it. But don't be fucking freaking out on some dude just to ask you a simple question that you can't answer or don't want to answer is what it is. And I feel like that's the same thing with so many other people is what it is, dude. And what I thought was funny, actually, going back to this weekend's chat where I was talking about that East Coast Corey guy, you know, and that dude was brought up again last night in the EA's chat by Honda, and he was like, yeah, the guy's only like 22, 23, and it's like, that makes a lot of sense now, because again, you look at those kind of people, and they're the ones that tend to be the college-age fucking commie types is what it is, dude. And I'm not going to sit here and say the guy was espousing like full-blown like communism or whatever the case be, but like, yeah, his mindset was definitely like very like idealistic is what it is, versus, you know, somebody that actually has like full frontal lobe development and has had some life experience and shit like that for, you know, another 10, 15 years on top of that, whatever it is, that knows what the fuck they're talking about because they actually have experienced, you know, the shit firsthand. And it's like, this is why your whole thing would never work is what it is. Because it's like, you know, there's always going to be that human nature element. There's always going to be that, you know, person, group of people, whatever it is, that want what you have. And if they have to take it by force, they will try. Ironically enough, you can go back to, there was an episode of Doomsday Preppers back in the day called We Are the Marauders. And it's funny because the guy who was the fat, overweight asshole, ugly ass ginger dude in that group was a convicted felon, and his dumb ass was shooting guns on camera in that episode, and then proceeded to end up getting busted for being a prohibited person and also a convicted felon, for that matter. Who I think he was still on parole at that time, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So he basically he had parole violations, and then also had like another, you know, felony charge for being a prohibited person in possession of firearms, is what it was then. So he ended up getting busted for like 2 felonies or something like that, is what it was. So yeah, the guy's just a fucking moron. And it's funny too that you had this dude who was like probably like 300 plus pounds is what it was, being like, yeah, we're going to break into your place and take your stuff at night or whatever the case be. And it's like, bro, you realized you would have to get past like people's defenses. Most people in a grid down scenario ain't sleeping at night. Or if they are, you have, you know, enough people within the small group sleeping in shifts. So there'd always be somebody awake on patrol and stuff like that, as it would be. And they would spot you. And it's funny because the guy was acting as if like, oh yeah, we're just going to take your guns and stuff like that. It's like, you realize you're going to be getting the business end of that firearm first, right? Like, people see you coming and they got a 308, you know, bolt action rifle in their upstairs bedroom and shit like that, dude. They're just going to snipe you out of the fucking window is what it's going to be, because they're going to see you coming. So again, like, people ain't just going to put up with like being, you know, killed or whatever in their own homes by some assholes. What it is, dude, they're going to fight back with deadly force in most cases, just like that woman earlier I was talking about. That was the concealed carry holder in Chicago. You had some piece of shit try to carjack her, and she blew his fucking brains out. And that's how that kind of shit should be dealt with, honestly, dude. It's like, that's how most of those stories should end, honestly, in this country. And if more of them did, you would have a hell of a lot less criminals or at least a hell of a lot less people being emboldened to be criminals and stuff like that, because it would be, oh, this person might be armed now. But that's the problem right now with places like Chicago. It's like so hard to get the ability to carry because of unconstitutional gun laws and, piece of shit politicians and stuff like that, that you never actually have the ability to defend yourself properly. But yet somehow there's apparently groups of people or outside forces, whatever it is, just dropping boxes full of guns on fucking sidewalks and shit in Chicago, I've heard now. Which makes sense, because if you go back to, I think it was like 2018 or 2019, you had the UN talking about coming into Chicago because there was like such an epidemic of like gun crime there is what it was. And they're like, oh, we can totally solve this stuff. And it's like, would it really surprise anybody if there was just a bunch of those motherfuckers there from like the UN or some, foreign asset, whatever it is, like Chinese sleeper cell, whatever it ends up being, dude, something like that. Just driving around a van at night in the middle of Chicago, just tossing out boxes of guns on various sidewalks and shit. I wouldn't be surprised by it at all, honestly, if it came to light that was the case. Or hell, could even be the fucking federal government for that matter, dude. They just take a bunch, because the thing is, right, you have all these buybacks and stuff over the entirety of our country right now. You really think they're destroying all those firearms, dude? Fuck no. And that's the whole point. They would be taking all that stuff and then throwing it into a box or whatever the case be, and then just tossing that box back on the street somewhere. It's not that hard to figure out, man. It's exactly why there was guns that were supposed to be, back in the day, they had been taken in buyback programs in the city of Chicago, were supposed to have been destroyed, and yet a couple of them ended up on dead bodies that the cops claimed the person that pulled a gun on them, and they shot them in so-called self-defense, even though the firearm that was most likely planted then was a revolver that was taken in some buyback is what it was, dude. Like a year or two before that. So, yeah, it would not surprise me in the least, honestly, dude, if this shit was all by design and stuff like that. And it was a way for the UN to basically, get a foothold into the US right now. Or it was something else for that matter, dude, whether it be UN or whether it be some, alphabet agency within our government for that matter, being like, oh, but see all this gun crime going on in Chicago over here, this is why we need to stop this, and this is why we need to implement this to do it and stuff like that. In reality, it's all them fucking, doing it themselves with some black ops shit or something like that, dude. Hell, it might be some fucking project for all we know, dude. Like how it used to be, all the UFO stuff was like Project Blue Book and shit like that. It could be something like that where it's like Project Firearm or something like that, and it's like them basically figuring out like how much it would take to destabilize an actual city in the state or something like that. And the thing, it would be very much similar to what was going on in 2020 there, where you had all these riots happening and stuff like that, and you had mysterious piles of bricks just randomly on the fucking sidewalk, even though there was no construction going on anywhere around that area, dude. But yet there was this giant pallet of fucking bricks just dropped there. And some people even questioned that shit because they saw somebody doing it one time, and they were like, dude, why are you leaving these bricks here? And they're like, oh, we're just told to do that. By who? Oh, by our employer. Who's your employer? George Soros. It's like, yeah, dude, it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense then. That you're trying to literally create fucking rioting is what it is, dude. And give people the tools to do rioting and stuff. So, anyway. And that would make sense, honestly, if it was the same thing there in Chicago. If it was like some globalist agenda endgame or something like that, dude. Where it was like, okay, we can destabilize this state now and then, push for these gun bans over here. And then we have our buddy Bloomberg push for all this shit at another level where we're trying to sue gun manufacturers out of business and stuff like that. And it's a whole thing there where it all comes together as like one big picture. And it's basically to destroy the Second Amendment and destroy American citizens' right to keep and bear arms and defend ourselves versus tyranny. And when the tyrants win, we all get democided, dude. And that's really their end game at the end of the day. And I'll be goddamn if I ever get my fucking guns at this point, dude, especially after my federal swatting a few years back. Fuck that shit, dude. I will never let those motherfuckers win. Never let them win after that, dude. when they tell me to my fucking face, we wasted 6 days on this? Where you literally could have told me the day before that, oh, you know, somebody reported you for some fucking video you put up there, and this might be considered a crime. We don't actually have anything we could charge you with, but we'd appreciate if you took it down, kind of thing. If they had just said that, honestly, I would have taken it down. And there wouldn't have been a fucking issue after that. But no, they want to come here and threaten my fucking freedom and be a bunch of a-holes like that and just a bunch of fucking scumbags, dude. And it's like, the worst thing I ever did was not have a lawyer that day, dude. To take their fucking pensions away from them then is what it would have been, dude. And it's one of the few times I could have got a decent payday in this country, dude. And that would have been one of about, I think that would have been like the third or fourth time in my life that could have happened then. So, anyway. Yeah, it's shit that infuriates me to this day that I didn't do that, honestly, dude. But again, I didn't even think it was over something with me, dude. I thought it was something based on the fact that I had reported somebody to them months ago that wasn't, or I should say months before that was 100% Antifa out of Texas is what it was, dude. And it's like, I assumed it was something like that, where they were like, oh, by the way, you know, this dude actually was a threat and you stopped a fucking, you know, massacre happening there in that state or something like that. I didn't think it was going to be like, oh, this video that you fucking said some shit in, like, oh my god, some fucking douchebag for Yang reported you, da, 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 da. Like, fuck off, dude, seriously. It's like, oh, this thought crime, somehow that equates to being a real crime now. It's like, no, it's a fucking what if scenario, jackass. Fuck you. So, anyway. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm still pissed. And I will continue to be pissed. And I will forever be pissed until I get real reparations at this point, dude. And, you know, the real reparations for me at this point with them actually being the Fed boys themselves to have them actually arrest fucking piece of shit Casey Weinstein, current Democrat state rep of the state of Ohio, who like a month after my federal swatting committed a hoax on himself and was never removed from office over that, dude. Was never even fucking investigated for that shit, dude. If that be the case and that was the end game, was this motherfucker being jailed federally? I would take that as penance at that point, dude. I don't think it's ever going to happen, though, unfortunately, is the problem. So, anyway. Like I said, though, that's pretty much where we're at for today, though. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I'll be back at some point here in, I don't know, a day or two probably to do some stuff. But until then, yeah, we'll keep on keeping on, and we'll probably be back on Friday then for the 2A cast then. This time it won't be like some 20-minute thing. It'll probably be like an hour or so. I'm not sure what we'll talk about yet. Maybe we'll talk more about the Uvalde BS lawsuit against Daniel Defense there. Or any of these other ones. Because I know there's a couple other ones that are going on right now. I may actually do a little bit of research and see how the one, if it's gone anywhere with the mag manufacturer that was the mag that was used in the Dayton massacre here from a few years ago that Bloomberg filed the suit like a year or so ago is what it was now. And see if that's gone anywhere or not, or if some judge finally threw that piece of shit out as a frivolous lawsuit it is then. And we might talk about that as well then. But yeah, it's all a bunch of crap, dude, is what it is. It's all a bunch of frivolous lawsuit bullshit that should be tossed out on its fucking ass right then and there as soon as it gets in front of a judge, dude. And any lawyer that's bringing it in front of them should be just barred on the spot is what it is, dude, because they are people who should not have the ability to practice law in this country ever is what it is. So anyway, that's pretty much where it stands right now. And like I said, if we lived in a just country and a true constitutional republic still, that's how it would be. They would be tossed out on their ass and they would potentially be facing criminal charges themselves, honestly, for that matter, because they're trying to destroy our constitutional rights is what it is, any way that they know how. So anyway, till later. I'll see you guys in the next one.